Those are the top stories in this news edition. Hello, welcome to ETV News. With the news, I'm Shamal Islam. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has called on the public to maintain taking precautionary measures against the coronavirus pandemic as cases continue to rise in Ethiopia. As COVID-19 cases continue to surge and our intensive care units operate at maximum capacity, it is imperative that we do not lose sight of precautionary measures, the Premier wrote on his Facebook page. Save your life, save someone else's life, and support our health workers by wearing a mask, he has advised. Ethiopia accuses some senior Sudanese officials of being involved behind the Ethio-Sudanese border dispute. Ethiopia nevertheless reiterated its commitment to resolving the dispute in an amicable way despite tensions in the border areas. Ethiopia further said it is ready more than ever before to defend its territorial integrity should the tensions escalate and the enemies behind the border issues press ahead with their belligerence. This came here today in the weekly press briefing by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Kasaon Chane attended the event and has compiled the following report.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs disclosed during a briefing that it will intensify efforts to resolve the border dispute prevailing in the Horn of Africa. Tensions in the border region have led since the outbreak of conflict in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region in early November and the arrival of more than 58,000 refugees in eastern Sudan. Spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Dina Mufti, said in a weekly statement that despite the current tensions on the Ethiopian-Sudanese border, the Ethiopian government will continue to work to resolve the issue amicably. He also said that Ethiopia's position should not be mistaken for failure to defend its territory, adding the army is closely watching developments. The Ethiopian army will take all the necessary measures if and when the nation's sovereignty is violated.
There are forces that are acting contrary to the interests of the Sudanese. These forces have crossed to the Ethiopian territory and they have invaded Ethiopian lands. They have started robbing Ethiopian peasants, and some of them have exceeded to the extent of claiming some of the Ethiopian territories. As you know, the border issue, the delineation of the border between Ethiopia and Sudan has been there for the last 100 years. There has been always discussions about demarcating this border, delineating the border. There is a legal demarcations that is known as a legal border for now. So everybody was expected to heed or care about the existing border. However, these forces being pushed by external forces, forces that have vested interest in exacerbating the animosity between Ethiopia and the neighboring countries, are operating from behind. These forces are interested in destabilized region. These forces are interested in Ethiopia being inimical with all its neighbors. These forces are interested not only in hurting Ethiopian interests, in hurting the interests of the region. These are forces of destabilization. They are known forces.
However, the spokesperson said that some senior Sudanese government officials were involved in a case. He recalled the Sudanese military forces surged forward, violating Ethiopian territory using heavy machine guns and a armored convoy beginning from November 9, 2020. The army has been committing organized attacks against Ethiopian peasants settled in the border areas. Ethiopian farmers' agricultural products are looted, their camps are vandalized, and they are also hampered from harvesting their farms. The spokesperson further emphasized that several civilians have been killed, while others sustained injury in a situation that is threatening to pollute the brotherly relations between the two nations. The developments in the border areas, he said, tend to splash cold water on agreements reached to maintain the status quo in the area north of Mount Dagalish. Finding a lasting remedy to settlement and cultivation are the only way to amicably resolve the issues in the common legal border demarcation, Dina told journalists.
And there are some proxies, Trojan horses, who are, of course, operating on behalf of these forces and who are serving them for interests that is vested in only theirs. And now we are telling them that they have to stop this. They should not act on behalf of these heinous criminals that are advancing their own agenda, and we are heading for the Ethio-Sudanese relationship. In fact, the discussion will continue, diplomatic engagement will continue. Hopefully we'll settle the disputes and normalcy will continue. This is what we have been talking about, the situation on the Ethio-Sudanese border.
In a similar development, Dina also expressed hope that the African Union-sponsored talks between Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt on the $4.6 billion hydropower dam, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, will resume very soon. He also disclosed that the interim administration in Tigray has announced new cabinet members and continued encouraging active public participation in administrative matters.
Tigray is returning to normalcy. This is a narrative that is being established constantly. As you know, the interim administration of the region has nominated cabinet members, and the cabinet members have started already functioning in their capacities, in their respective capacities. This interim administration of Tigray has started holding discussions with the constituency in various cities like Mekelle and others, whereby they have listened to the views of the residents, and the residents have briefed them on the actual situations, on the situation in which they find themselves.
The Ethiopian Defense Force finds rockets at a private warehouse in the city of Mekelle, supposedly to be used by the TPLF to attack the cities of Bahir Dar, Gondar and Asmara. Among them were 7 empty rocket boxes that were already launched to the 3 cities during the military operation, and 13 other rockets ready to be launched. The Defense Force also uncovered a heavy military vehicle on the outskirts of the city, which was used by the clique to transport and launch rockets from different directions. Solomon Danyi presents the story as follows.
It is to be recalled that a TPLF clique was launching rockets into the cities of Bahir Dar, Gondar and to Eritrea's capital Asmara, with its quest to draw international actors into the conflict. Following the quick and overwhelming win against the clique, the Ethiopian Defense Force is discovering armories and war vehicles that the TPLF used to launch attacks. The Defense Force recently spotted a private warehouse in the city of Mekelle, where rockets are kept by the TPLF, supposedly used during the repeated rocket firing attempts during the military operation.
We've been conducting door-to-door searches since we captured the city of Mekelle to find hidden armories and other equipments. As you see, this is a private warehouse. It is not supposed to store any military-related equipment, but the clique was using it to hide rockets, which were launched into different cities in and outside the country. Some of them were ready to be transported to where it was supposed to be fired. We've also captured the firing vehicle.
Rockets of the 7 empty boxes were already launched to Bahir Dar, Gondar and Asmara, and the rest 13 rockets are found in this private warehouse, the Defense Force announced it, adding that the group was a constellation of mafias who do not care about the public. A huge war vehicle, which was used by the clique to transport and launch rockets from, has also been discovered in the outskirts of the city.
As I mentioned before, the rockets were being launched from this vehicle. They were using the vehicle to move rockets from one place to another. We've been able to trace it before being destroyed. It is our country's resource.
Normalcy is already restored in Tigray. The troublesome clique was considered a humiliating defeat.
The Benishangul Gumuz State Council has lifted today prosecution immunity of its 4 members during its emergency session. The council revoked their immunity on suspicion of having links with security problems in Matakkal zone. The council also demanded law enforcement measures upon those individuals who have participated directly or indirectly in the ethnic-based killings of civilians and destruction of properties in the zone. They also urged the council to identify those members who have links with the recurrent security problems and killings in the region. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia says upcoming general election will be inclusive of people with disabilities. Meanwhile, individuals with disabilities approached by ETV have recalled that previous elections paid little attention to them. Habtamu Ashagri has more that.
Hailelul Takle-Georgis is the chair of the Ethiopian Center for Disability and Development. He says he could not take part in the previous elections.
I
never participated in the past elections in the country. I have many reasons for this. Firstly, there is no favorable atmosphere to take voters' card. There was no responsible body to analyze the problem that we had in the previous time. Thus, I was not ready to vote in the election. The accessibility problem in the election blocked me to participate in the election.
This is Wenches Gima with hearing impairment. She said the pre-election activities have failed to consider physically impaired persons across the country.
Every electoral executive is expected to identify favorable conditions for them in every poll station. Contesting political parties have been undertaking promotion works for their respective parties, but there was no sign language to disabled persons. As a result, deaf people in Ethiopia are not accessible to and well informed about the national election across the country. This is a big problem. They have to adopt a program to address this problem. They have to implement inclusive strategy to disabled individuals. I think they have to promise to solve these problems in the near future. I hope this is a great advantage to promote their strategy as well.
The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia is undertaking preparations to implement an inclusive strategy to embrace all disabled individuals in the upcoming general election.
አካል ጉዳተኛ የሆነ የግል ተመራጭ ካለ ለምርጫም በሚመጡ ለመምረጥም ለመመዝገብም በሚመጡበት ጊዜ
If we have disabled person as a candidates or voters in the upcoming election, we put directions for these individuals to get advanced service in every poll stations.
ተመድበው
The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia is working jointly with other stakeholders to create favorable conditions to include disabled individuals in the upcoming general election across the nation.
በተለይ ከ4 አመት ወዲህ የመጡ ለውጦች አሁን በ4 አመት የተሰራው ስራ ወደ ኋላ ባሉት አመታት ቢሰራ ምን ያህል ትሆን ነበር?
ደስ የሚሉ ጅምሮች አሉ። ውስጥ ለውስጥም ስፓልት ተሰርቷል። ከዲዳ ጋሚላ አሸማሸሚቱ ማን በጂንጉን መሳላ አሸማሸም አንገጫ ከዲዳ ጋሚላ አሸማሸሚቱ ማን በጂንጉን መሳላ አሸማሸም
Welcome back. The Ministry of Peace vows that it will do all it takes to bring to justice criminals involved in the Matakkal massacre. The country's peace ministry has held discussions with communities in Matakkal zone. During the discussion, surviving victims of the horrific incident have asked for justice by narrating the ordeals they underwent. Responding to the claim, State Minister for Peace, Frealem Shibabao, said all the attacks inflicted upon individual members of each victimized family will be regretted and criminals will be brought to justice. She also added that the government is working to reinstate the victims to their vicinities. Eritrean refugees in 2 camps in the Tigray region of Ethiopia have received a month's worth of food supplies through a joint distribution by the United Nations World Food Programme, the United Nations Refugee Agency UNHCR, and Ethiopia's Agency for Refugees and Returnees Affairs ARA. In coordination with federal authorities, a convoy of 18 trucks delivered nearly 250 metric tons of corn, soya blend, grains, pulses and vegetable oil to local humanitarian partners for distribution to 13,000 Eritrean refugees in Mai Aini camp. Another nearly 240 metric tons of food was delivered to Adi Harush refugee camp to support 12,170 refugees there. WFP, UNHCR and ARA provided monitoring support during both distributions, which began shortly after the food reached the camps.